Alright, what is good, team? We're in for legs today, which is the last lower body session of this prep, or at least for this show anyway. Typically what we'll do, like 5 days out, last leg workout, just to leave enough time for lower body inflammation to dissipate and really let the legs dry out, so to speak. And a lot of that is just really dropping off fluid, dropping off inflammation, and just letting the legs recover after many, many months of hard leg training, of hard cardio, of lots of activity, doing lots of steps. The legs just accumulate lots of fatigue, so we want to just try and dissipate that as much as possible. So today's session is a pretty light one. We've only got like a couple exercises, volume reduction across the board, intensity reduction across the board. And I think when we look at how we best dissipate fatigue, it's implementing some sort of deload strategy, and that's exactly what we do in this final peaking phase. It's not an opportunity to kind of do anything else, but rather do the opposite, is do less. And that really just comes in the form of a deload and or diet break of some description. And in terms of like dissipating fatigue from training specifically, there's a couple of different ways we can do these like training tapers or deloads. But the best way to kind of, really nip it in the butt quickly and get a lot of fatigue off really quickly is just an overall volume and intensity reduction. So that means dropping off some load, dropping off some working sets and or reps. So for this session, it's really only like a couple of working sets on each exercise at like a 4 to 5 RIR. So basically all I'm doing is keeping the load the same. So load exposure, degree of mechanical tension stays the same, but I'm just doing less overall volume. So 4 to 5 RIR, basically I've just chosen the same loads that I did last week, and I'm just gonna drop 4 or 5 reps off. So last week, sort of hit this for like 65 kilos for 15 reps. I'm just gonna do it for about, 10, 11, 12 reps. So just really just try and, increase that RIR and just leave some reps in reserve to just speed up this recovery process. But we'll get a couple of warm-up sets here, get stuck in, should be nice, easy working sets. So I should get through it pretty quick. That's us done for leg extensions. That was good. Big goal of today's session, and for this whole week for that matter, is to stimulate, not annihilate. So in terms of like overall training this week, it's pretty lackluster. So to take you guys through this peak week of training, it's not very exciting, but I think that's kind of the point. All the work is done, and this point in time is really just to kind of rest up, eat up if you have the ability to, which we hopefully will come Friday, Saturday, and just really allow the body to kind of just get fresh. So pretty much the plan for this week is we had upper body yesterday, light lower body today. Probably gonna have 2 rest days. So Wednesday, Thursday will be rest day. Friday, we're just gonna have a light upper body like pump session, which will be Friday AM fasted. Then we're gonna have some carbs, potentially post training Friday. So the main rationale there being that with that training session, we do upregulate carbohydrate translocation to shuttle those nutrients towards muscle glycogen. So we do that session fasted, we get some carbs in post-training. It's probably only gonna be a couple of meals of added carbohydrates because we do have the weigh-ins on Saturday, so I still gotta make weight. But I'm, what am I at the moment? 0.35 above my cap. So based on this progression, I've been losing about half a kilo, a little bit more, 0.6 per day. So overnight tonight, we've got obviously a low day today. We can anticipate tomorrow's probably gonna be 91.3, 91.4, so under the cap there, which would be nice. Then that does give us another day or two to kind of push it down. If we get under 91, that'd be great. It does give us a little more room to kind of eat up and just hold at that weight cap, which will be nice from a recovery standpoint to have a little bit extra food, just for energy. Like, energy's pretty low this week, so that's the general plan. Things may change depending on what happens. It may speed up or slow down, so we shall see. But we'll keep this session rolling. Onto a couple of sets of hamstring curls, and then onto my squat pattern, leg press, calves, done. So I'll see you guys for hamstring curls upstairs. Onto the meat and potatoes of this session, the last hard exercise. Smith squats. I'm gonna do a top set and a backup set, so I'll do my heavier set now. Again, still 4 to 5 RR, so all I've done is just kept the load the same. I'm gonna drop about 5 reps on this, so it's gonna be a comfy set, just gonna go through the motions. Then I'll do my backup set, might drop the load 20 kilos, couple more reps, but still gonna be 4 or 5 RR. And then we're onto some carbs and then maybe some abs, and I think we are done. And then time to chill the fuck out for the next couple of days, which will be nice. So, let's get after it. Easy. Team, that about wraps up today's session. Finishing this off with some seated calf raises paired with kneeling rope crunches. 2 sets, 10 to 15 reps. Nothing crazy, but just enough to kind of get the abs firing, get the calves cranking ahead of the show this weekend. So it's kind of nice to reflect back on all the work we've done over the last few months. This being the last leg session before we hit the stage for the first show. We've got 2 weeks in between for the Nationals Pro Qualifier. So probably 1 or 2 more leg sessions in between there. So that's going to be a fun session or 2 down in Melbourne, which is going to be fun. So we're going to have a really cool gym to train there. So very excited to take you guys along for the journey on that one. But that'll wrap up today's session. As always, it means the world to me seeing the support on the channel and watching it grow every single day. So if you guys get any value at all, please do leave me a comment. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It allows me to keep making these videos and take you guys along for the ride as we embark on this contest prep season, both here in Australia and overseas as well. So until next time, guys, I'll see you in here for Friday's AM fasted upper body session prior to carving up.